All right, before I jump in, let me just state this. I love how Fast and Furious 9 and 10 did, in fact, link some stuff to Brian and Paul Walker with Dominic Toretto giving his brother a 10-second car. I really loved that aspect of it and stuff, and how he explained an old friend once gave him that ability. Then in Fast 10, I like when he's talking to Elena's sister, I believe, and stuff, and he's talking about how a cop and a street racer become friends, and he's talking about him and Brian and everything to Paul Walker. And I love how they started that film with like a little bit see you again with the film and stuff. With that being said, let's jump into what this full video is about. All right, guys, Fast and Furious. Let's talk about it. What if Brian O'Connor was in Fast 8, 9, and 10? How would this story have changed? For 8 is probably the biggest one that I want to talk about. 9 and 10, I don't think a lot would change. You know, Dom would probably tell him about Jacob and stuff, but I don't really think a lot would change in the 9th one. Also, the 10th one, I probably see just like Brian, rest in peace, Paul Walker. I love you, man. You were a great actor and stuff. I could see like Brian coming into it and rescuing his nephew and stuff, but I don't know. In the 8th one, it's tough to say because I don't know if he would get manipulated by Cypher. I think that I always wondered what the script would have been like if you know, Brian was in the story more and stuff, and he was in Fast 8 and Fast 9 and 10, what the story would have changed into. But yeah, I do think that the story it would be interesting in 8. I don't know if he gets manipulated by Cypher because in that regard, Elena gets kidnapped and stuff with a child who's an infant and stuff. Brian's kids are kind of already grown up at this point. I don't really know if Cypher would kidnap one of them or Mia. Maybe somehow she still finds a way to manipulate him. Maybe it's a sister that nobody knows about, and Brian has a sister keeping her out of the spotlight. Maybe Tess is actually his sister or something, but I'll talk about that in a different video. But yeah, I don't know how any of that would happen. So I don't know. I don't know how the story would change. What do you guys think? How would the story change with Brian in 8, 9, and 10 for you? Do you think that the story would change ultimately? Would the Fast story change 100%? You know, how would the story change? Because, you know, keeping Brian out of spotlight, like he's not killed off, for one thing. And just saying that, like, he's watching over his kids and stuff while Mia goes on the missions. I'd like to see Brian back for the last couple of movies to keep Walker's legacy alive in a way, but that's obviously up to the Walker family and stuff and everything else. So I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts. What do you think, guys? I don't know how the story would change. Personally, I think that it probably stays the same, but yeah, I don't know how it changes. You let me know your thoughts on that.